We all have that one game we've played for longer than we'd like to admit, whether that's thousands of hours racking up kills in Fortnite or countless days exploring every nook and cranny of the gargantuan Red Dead Redemption 2. At some point, most gamers become heavily attached to one single experience, but the sad thing is that eventually the fun will start to dissipate, and it gets hard to find reasons to keep going, even with a game that you genuinely adore. To combat that feeling of things getting stale, one way that people continue to find a fresh sense of challenge in games they've mastered is by speedrunning them. When you've completed everything and collected everything, the next step is to break the game apart and humiliate it, raising a firm middle finger to the way that you're supposed to play, by sprinting to the finish line using any means necessary. From iconic platformers to open world giants, some of the most famous games of all time have been completely destroyed by the speedrunning community in a matter of minutes, whether by using glitches, exploiting mechanics, or just simply being awesome at the game. I'm Kirsten from WhatCulture. Get your stopwatches at the ready, because these are 10 video games broken beyond belief while speedrunning. Number 10, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Normally taking a few hours to complete, someone has actually beaten the main path of horror sensation Amnesia: The Dark Descent in 23 minutes and 34 seconds. Since the game is a fairly linear walk through lots of corridors type of experience, there isn't really a lot of wiggle room in terms of deviating from the path to completion. It's not like an open world game where you can take a ton of different routes to reach your objective, and so speedrunners achieve record times by employing a few movement tricks, and of course by going out of bounds. Small time savers like jumping up flights of stairs, which makes the climb quicker, will add up over time, but the way to really shave off those minutes is by exiting the playable area to bypass huge chunks of time. For example, after moving a bed and chipping through a hole in the floor in the prison area, you'll crawl through a tight tunnel. Just up ahead here, you can climb through a wall and get out of bounds. There are a couple of other places where this trick can be used as well, completely breaking the normal route through the game. But if you're looking to achieve a record time, or if you're a coward who hates scary stuff, then it's gotta be done. Number 9, Half-Life 2. Like Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Half-Life 2 normally takes a couple of hours to get through, but a speedrunner has beaten it in 47 minutes and 37 seconds. Some of the tricks involved include optimizing the game's settings, selecting easy difficulty, and implementing certain keybinds to make movement more fluid. But the best way to get a record time is to utilize glitches like void clipping and prop clipping. The latter involves clipping inside a prop to access out-of-bound areas. It takes a lot of skill to pull something like this off, and it's going to be interesting to see whether the same group of people will be able to put their speedrunning abilities to work on Half-Life Alyx. Number 8, Sonic the Hedgehog. The early Sonic games aren't really the most complex beasts around. At the risk of oversimplifying things, all you have to do to finish a stage is sprint from left to right, pulling off a few jumps along the way. It's gaming at its purest. That being said, it's still ridiculously difficult to pull off a speedrun of the original game like the 9-minute and 53-second one you're looking at now. Rather than one central exploit being responsible for that incredible time, speedruns of Sonic the Hedgehog are like a puzzle, a mixture of glitches, well-timed jumps, and bouncing on top of enemies to get an extra burst of mid-air speed, all fitted together in a seamless fashion. Some stages, like Green Hill Zone Act 1, the very first in the game, are just faultless, normal runs through the level, whilst on other occasions, players can glitch through walls to skip entire sections. At the start of the Marble Zone Act 3, for instance, where Sonic can teleport straight to the boss battle. It's also possible to skip small sections without even glitching. If players can get enough speed when bouncing off a spring, they can do a massive jump that sends them soaring over the stage, out of the way of obstacles and enemies. Sonic games want you to run through each level, but as it turns out, it's a lot quicker to take to the skies. Number 7, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Although it's been dwarfed by more recent open world titles, Grand Theft Auto Vice City is still a huge game, so it's honestly bizarre to think that someone has completed it in 8 minutes and 35 seconds. Because of the game's size and complexity, it all boils down to manipulating the replay feature of the game to teleport to the final storyline mission, Keep Your Friends Close. The run starts off by using a glitch, clipping through a bridge on Prawn Island to reach the downtown area of the map, which is normally sealed off until later in the story. From here, speedrunners hop in a nearby helicopter, fly across town, and park outside the Moist Palms Hotel, where the replay process begins. In GTA, replays are short recordings of gameplay that you can save. While leaving the Moist Palms Hotel, players start recording their next small chunk of gameplay, before saving it and starting a brand new game. The next step is to hop on the Pizza Boy scooter, initiate completing the delivery side mission. At this point, speedrunners start the replay that they previously saved, so now they're having it running at the same time as the Pizza Boy mission. This is a process called duping, which means to have multiple instances of missions running simultaneously. With this done, a few more steps, including robbing a store clerk to get more money, will, if all goes well, confuse the game so much that it teleports your character to the final mission, which must be completed normally. The crazy thing about this is that there's a high chance that your game will crash instead of warping you to the last mission. It takes a lot of precision timing and determination to get this speedrun finished, because you have to completely explore the inner workings of the game and hope that everything clicks together correctly. Number 6, Outlast. 2013's horror hit Outlast is one of the most chilling gaming experiences around. Memorable for the fact that you play as a helpless journalist who can't really do much to defend himself against the bloodthirsty maniacs roaming the spooky Mount Massive asylum. But if you so desire, you don't have to experience any of that spookiness, because Outlast also features an insane glitch that allows players to skip the majority of the game, leading to some seriously swift completion times like the 8 minutes and 22 seconds seen right now. Right at the start of the game, even before entering the asylum, you can jump over a wall to the right of the driveway, falling through the map and instantly being teleported to the underground lab area, which during a normal playthrough comprises the third act of the story. Sure, speedrunners also have to know the end of the game inside out and have their movements down to a fine art, but this crazy skip that jumps past the majority of the game is easily the most important element, and genuinely baffling that something as game-breaking as this is even a possibility. Number 5, Super Mario 64. It really isn't a surprise that one of the most beloved games of all time has been absolutely wrecked by speedrunning enthusiasts. At this point, Super Mario 64 is like that old family board game you bring out on special occasions, with its corners frayed, some of the pieces missing, and the cards strewn across the inside of the box. But it might surprise you to learn just how much the game has been broken open, with a recent world record speedrun sitting at a bonkers 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Impressive, considering that the player spends the first 50 seconds of the run watching a cutscene. On top of a few tricks to get Mario moving through the world a bit faster, such as chaining jumps to cover more ground more quickly, the biggest aid available to speedrunners is the famous backwards long jump glitch, in which the player faces Mario away from some stairs, jumps and lands while holding backwards on the control stick. The result of this move is that Mario will be sent flying away at high speed, usually clipping through walls along the way. Combine this with the aforementioned jump chaining, dodging past certain obstacles rather than going where the game wants you to go, and even a few accurately planned controller swaps, and the Super Mario 64 speedrun is like a dance that has to be choreographed down to the tiniest details. Number 4, Skyrim. Considering how buggy Bethesda games are, it's not a shock to learn that there are plenty of ways to manipulate and break them for the sake of speedrunning. And that's exactly what happened to Skyrim with a 2019 run through the main questline only, clocking at a staggering 23 minutes and 45 seconds. If you live under a rock and somehow have never played Skyrim, it contains well over 100 hours of content, and an average playthrough of the main story can take anywhere from 30 to 40 hours, so finishing it in less than 25 minutes, yeah, there's some serious glitching involved. The most crucial exploit utilised by speedrunners in recent Skyrim runs is horse tilting, which was discovered a couple of years ago, by climbing on a horse and tilting it off a nearby rock. The player character is sent zooming across the world at an alarming pace, through mountains, forests, fortresses and lakes, into areas that they normally wouldn't get to until later in the game. As a result, this makes it possible to breeze through the main quest line in record time, with horse tilting being employed on multiple occasions. Other small things like skipping through the dialogue as fast as possible will help, of course, but this trick really opens Skyrim up to the crazy speedrun times we've seen over the past couple of years. Number 3, Crash Bandicoot 2. In order to proceed through Crash Bandicoot 2 legitimately, you'll have to play through numerous levels like the seal-infested Snow-Go and the lush Turtle Woods, collecting 25 crystals along the way. These crystals allow you to access the boss fights, and beating the bosses will get you to the end of the game. Simple. For normal players, casually spinning through each level will probably take between 10 and 20 minutes, but amazingly, someone has actually completed the entire game in 12 minutes flat. Continuing a theme on this list, that speedy time was accomplished thanks to an amusing exploit. This one allows players to gather all the crystals they need without actually slogging through each of the game's levels. The exploit works by jumping on an arrow crate over 200 times and then jumping onto an enemy. This grants Crash a combo of over 200, for which he is rewarded with some shiny crystal goodness. As a result, you can get all the crystals you need in a matter of minutes, instantly accessing boss fights like Ripperoo, Tiny and the Komodo brothers, and reach the final battle against Cortex in no time at all. Now, here at WhatCulture Gaming, we cannot condone this use of game-breaking exploits. However, considering the pure hardship that the Crash Trilogy remaster caused us, we'll look the other way if you want to use this one. Number 2, Portal. Want to know how to make Portal even more complex? Try and speedrun it. Valve's classic head scratcher is a difficult enough game as it is, but when you add in the various complexities associated with world record hunting, it becomes borderline overwhelming. Regardless, some people have the time and the patience to figure these things out, which is why the current gold medal belongs to a slick 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Before speedrunners even start attempting to blast through Portal's story, there's an insane amount of planning and setup that needs to be done, and it takes an enormous Google document to keep track of. When it comes to breaking the game itself, there are almost too many glitches and exploits to keep track of. There's the save glitch, manipulating saving/loading to create a ghost body that can walk through walls, the angle glitch, teleport the player to a different location than the exit portal, the vertical wall warp, quickly reach out of bound areas, and the portal quick re-entry, escape out of bound areas safely and re-enter the map, to name but a few. All of these and more have given speedrunners a flexible set of tools with which to tackle their attempts at a speedy time. Puzzle games are supposed to mess with the player's head, but in this case, it's the players who are toying with the game. Number 1, Pokemon Red. There are lots of things you can do in 1 minute. Eat a couple of finger sandwiches, boil the kettle, muster up the will to get out of bed in the morning. But one thing that you can't do in that time is complete a Pokemon game, right? Well, technically, yes, that is right, because the current world record for Pokemon Red is 1 minute and 18 seconds. But let's not split hairs. That speedy time is an unprecedented achievement that sounds impossible on paper. Fortunately though, for everyone wishing to speedrun Pokemon Red and aim for a similarly crazy time, there's an extremely powerful exploit called the Item Underflow glitch that can be used to instantly warp to the end of the game. As you'd expect for such a handy little trick, it's pretty complicated and hard to pull off, which is why you don't see minute-long speedruns cropping all over the place. But it absolutely works if done correctly. The concept of the glitch is to trick the game into thinking that you have -1 items in your bag, which will cause the number to underflow to 255. Because of this, the player will gain the ability to manipulate RAM, including things like coordinates and map data, which opens up the possibility of teleporting to the Hall of Fame at the end of the game, rolling the credits in no time at all. Unlike the other entries on this list, there's basically no gameplay when using this speedrun method. It's really all about that glitch. Broken is an understatement. And that's our list. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I've been Kirsten from WhatCulture, and I'll see you in the next one.